Solving multiplication and division equations. When you solve an equation by dividing both sides of the equation by the same number, you are using the division property of equality. That's just a really fancy way of saying if we divide an equation by one number on the left side, we have to divide by the same number on the right side. So let's look at this using numbers. I know that 15 equals 15. If I decide that I want to divide the 15 on the left by 5, well, that equals 3. And 3 does not equal 15. So whatever I do on one side also has to be done on the other side to keep it equal. 15 divided by 5 equals 15 divided by 5. So 3 equals 3. We can apply this same thing to algebra. So we have 3x equals 18. Remember that 3x is the same thing as 3 times x, so that's 3 times x equals 18. And we're going to do the opposite operation to solve, so if we have 3 times x and we want to get 3 by itself, or not 3, x by itself, then we'll divide by 3. So 3 times x divided by 3 is just x. And then whatever I did to the left side, I have to do to the right side. So 18 divided by 3, and that is 6. So x will equal 6. And if I check by plugging it back in, 3 times 6 equals 18, and I solve, that is true. The Doctor Who Club at Tejeda Middle School is building a rectangular TARDIS model that is 4 feet long. The area of the floor is 12 square feet. How wide is the TARDIS model? So I've highlighted the question, and that tells us our unknown, the width of the TARDIS model. And here we're just going to use x to represent our unknown. And then we need to underline anything in the question that is important. So I have the model is 4 feet long, and the area is 12 square feet. We're going to take the most important words from the problem and rewrite them. So length times width equals the area because it's a rectangle. X represents the width of the TARDIS model, and then we have a model here that shows us that 4 times something is going to give us a total of 12 square feet for the area. So we have the length, which was 4, times, which is our little dot, and then the width, which is our unknown, so that's the x, equals, and then the area, which is 12 square feet. So we have our equation. Now we need to solve. So let's rewrite the equation. 4x equals 12 because 4x is the same thing as 4 times x. To solve, we're going to divide, and we're going to divide each side by 4 because I want to get that x by itself. So if I do 4 times x divided by 4, then I'll just get x. So that's x equals 12 divided by 4. So I can simplify. 12 over 4 is 12 divided by 4, and that is 3. So right now, I think that x equals 3. We need to check. So that means we're going to plug in the 3 for x in our equation and see if it works. 4 times 3 equals 12. Well, 4 times 3 is 12. Does 12 equal 12? Yes, so we're good. In 2004, Penn Hadow and Simon Murray walked 680 miles to the South Pole. The trip took 58 days. Suppose they traveled the same distance each day. Write and solve a multiplication equation to find about how many miles they traveled each day to the nearest whole number. So we're trying to find about how many miles they traveled each day. And when it says to the nearest whole number, that means we're going to have to round. So let's look and see. What's our unknown? Our unknown is how many miles they traveled each day. Well, the unknown is how many miles they traveled each day. And in order to figure that out, we have to know the total miles, which was 680 miles. We need to know how many days it was. It was 58 days. And it is important that it's the same distance every day. And then I think it would be good for us to circle multiplication equations so we know exactly what kind of equation we're being asked to write. So of course, the first step is to write the most important words from the problem. So let's go ahead and do that. So I wrote days times daily distance is the total distance, because the number of days times how far they went each day will give us the total distance. Now we need to define a variable. I'm going to choose D for distance, for the daily distance. And then I'm going to draw a bar model to represent my word problem. So I have the total distance. Hopefully your bar model is prettier than mine. So that's 680 miles. And then D is for distance, so however many times that is. And now, based on the words we wrote, we need to write an equation, which I'm going to have to do over here because I took up way too much room with my model. So the number of days times daily distance is the total distance. Well, it's 58 days, so that's 58 times the daily distance. Well, that's what we don't know, so that's D, is the equal sign, and then the total distance is 680 miles. So we have our equation. Now what I want you to do is I want you to write the equation, figure out what you need to divide each side by, and I want you to solve. Remember that you need to round to the nearest whole number. So go ahead and press pause to solve and then press play to check. Okay, so there was a lot of work involved there. You wrote the equation, 58 times D equals 680. You had to divide each side by 58, and when you did that, you got a decimal, and you could have kept going. But it says to round to the nearest whole number, so really all I need to know is what number is in the tenths place, because that's going to tell me if I'm going to round up or if it's going to stay the same. So while I still have a remainder, I could keep going, I'm going to stop because I've gone as far as I need to. So 11.7 can be rounded to the nearest whole number of 12. So we're saying their daily distance is about 12 miles. And then to check, I went ahead and did 11.7 times 58 to see what I got. And that was 678.6, which we can round to 680. So that does work. Alrighty guys, so that's how we multiply or do the multiplication equations. So check the next video for division equations.